Baloo says he talk about Boots. What exactly you want us to talk about Boots? You want to talk about basically how they saying that he overrated. I don't think Boots overrated. I just think Boots need to fight names. That's just what I believe. Eddie Hearn is doing he's supposed to do as a promoter. Do I think he gonna give Boots the fights? No, I don't trust that white man with them green eyes. I'm sorry, but at the end of the day, we'll see. It's a perfect time for Eddie Hearn to capitalize on opportunities. Top rank is out the way. PBC is out the way. You still got Golden Boy, but Golden Boy, they do their own thing. So, this is a perfect time for Eddie Hearn to try to capitalize on opportunities. So, what are y'all feeling about Boots? What is your makeup of Boots, right? Do you feel like Boots can be that face of boxing? Or do you feel like, man, he just a hype job? Because I saw a
Yeah.
talk show and they said that basically he a hype job. So anybody want to go first? Let's talk about this Boots thing.
I'll shoot first on this one. Boots is definitely not a high job, and when we talk about Boots, it's hard to tell. It's hard to answer the question. Could he be the face of boxing? Because that's more like right now that talk and him becoming the face of boxing is more like a passing of the torch thing. He's gonna need that fight, and it's only one guy who can get him the torch right now. It's only one guy, and that guy ain't gonna entertain him right now. There's no reason why. We spoke on this before. There's no reason Bud should be entertaining a Boots right now because what Bud has done in his career thus far, it doesn't equate to him not even stepping down. It doesn't equate to him stepping backwards to take that risk to fight a Boots. So I think Boots, again, like you said earlier, he's gonna have to create his own path. He gonna have to take the scenic route to become the face of boxing. He might not do it until the last 3 years, maybe the tail end of his career. But at the same time, if he wants to be the face of boxing, like now immediately, that's the passing of the torch thing. There's only one guy that's gonna help him create that, and that's Bud Crawford. If he finds another way, if there's another way, I could be wrong. But at the same time, like I say, the passing of the torch, that ship is kind of sailed on Boots. Do I think he's a hype job? No, he's just gonna Boots is somebody we're gonna have to watch for a long time to finally say, okay, I give him the credit. I give him the respect. That guy's finally the face of boxing. We're gonna be watching Boots a long time, especially if he sticks around Eddie Hearn. If he continues to stick around Eddie Hearn, he not gonna get the names. He not gonna get the fights. The timing gonna be off. Eddie Hearn gonna sell the other side short, regardless, because he's not a guy about losing his money. He's not about losing the money. He got a closed, tight fist. So if Boots continues to operate with Eddie Hearn, we're gonna be watching Boots a long time before we finally say that guy finally did it. He's the face of boxing. Am I saying I'm 100% right? No, but like I say, the passing of the torch, that's kind of in Crawford's hand. That's up to Crawford to help Boots actually get, tossed to the forefront and say, hey, that man is the face of boxing. There, I don't think there's nobody else Boots can go and fight right now to make him the face of boxing. Like I said, he's gonna have to run the gauntlet. That's one of those guys that's gonna have to do it the old school way, and he gonna have to stand on it. He gonna have to be behind it. He gonna have to know this ride gonna get a little bumpy. It's gonna get a little chippy. It's gonna get windy. It's gonna be rain. It's gonna be sunny. He gonna have to understand that with Boots. He gonna have to take the scenic route, and he gonna have to do it himself. Because, like I said, there's no reason for Bud to entertain a Boots, especially at this point in his career. Bud should only be thinking about two things. It's either retiring or wait for somebody else to collect the belts and say, hey, I'm the guy. I'm the face. I want your belts. I'm trying to do it full time. And we already know after what he said recently, I got my eyes on you. He's talking to Genevieve. You know what I'm saying? So again, with Boots, I love Boots as a fighter. I love how he moves as a person sometimes. It's just that he's stuck between the rock and the hard place right now. And that ship that was gonna get him to the forefront is sailing away fast. But y'all probably feel different about it. But at the same time, Huncho, what you got?
Yeah. I right now I think it's hard for me to say Boost is overrated, but when I'm looking at his record, the
Right,
guy has almost 40 fights.
right.
And his biggest name to date is a guy that had 15 fights in what the hell was his name? The Eastern European dude he
And
just beat up. Stanionis. That is your biggest fight
Right.
in 40 fights. I think Boots has gotten comfortable with getting paid to not really fight nobody. And I respect the hustle. If they're gonna pay you to beat up these dudes
Right.
and you get paid 3-4 million, why not? Boots is he's probably top 15 or top 10 most paid boxers right now. And he ain't fought nobody. It's hard for me to tell, but I want to say that the Bud fight was there at a point in time, but him and his daddy said we were loyal to Showtime at the time. We weren't gonna go over to Black Prime. So that was the opportunity there. So now, in terms of like the passing the torch situation, I think, like you said, he got to go through the gauntlet because Benavidez kind of just put himself in a position where it's like, okay,
Right.
you didn't beat Caleb Plant, you didn't beat Boo Boo, you didn't beat Durrell. Then it's like, okay, he damn near cleared the division. So it's like, okay, Canelo, he didn't put in the leg work. Boots ain't put in no leg work to get a
Right.
Bud fight. Is it a good fight? We'd have to see. I think Boots gets stopped in that fight. But is it a fight we all kind of want to see just because Boots has been tagging his name along to Bud and Earl for like 3-4 years now? I remember on that call he said I called out Bud in 2018. Called out Bud in 2018. I think we all can agree that would have been a terrible move for Boots, but I think he's been attached, which is I think it's smart business wise. You attach your name to the biggest names, and that's how you get known, and that's kind of where Boots is. So I think Boots needs to step up and fight these fights. Turkey said he got the fights for him. When you don't want tune-ups, come holla at me. So money ain't really an issue. So if
Right.
money ain't really an issue for a guy, and he's having but him and Eddie are selling us the public that hey, these guys don't want to fight us. But you have a guy that Eddie has a history of working with that then made plenty of fights. But now you on another screen when it's just y'all two and it's just Eddie and Boots at the press conference, they're saying nobody wants to fight Boots. Then I'm starting to look at it a little bit funny. You have 40 fights. You and your promoter said nobody want to fight you, but the money man in boxing right now that done put on Brian Norman and Haney, a name that Boots was supposed to fight, Brian Norman, right?
Mm.
That fight was supposed to happen, but Boots all of a sudden said, my doctor said I'm not performing at 100%. So I got a move up, but just 2 weeks prior, he said I make 147 earlier. It's just way too many stories. Like things just ain't adding up. And then when I look at the record, I can't be like, okay, nah, but he's fighting names. So it's just too many things is going wrong for me to say Boots is just 100% the guy. You feel me? So I
Right.
feel like guys like Jamel Charlo will give Boots hell because Jamel Charlo's I think the kryptonite for Boots is just being a boxer, right? I
Mm-hmm.
think come forward guys, Boots is gonna get you up out of there.
Mm.
If you want to brawl with Boots, you're gonna get up out of there. But I think if you got good fundamentals, I think you can give Boots problems. Yeah, that's my take on it though.
Right. I agree with that.
I agree with everything both of y'all said. I think Boots, it's a lot of question marks around him. We see the talent, we see the skill, but it's a lot of question marks. It's the what if. It's a lot of what ifs, right? And I've said this, the whole Crawford situation, he don't need to be mentioning his name. He ain't did nothing, right? And even Crawford, I saw a video earlier today where Crawford addressed that. He said, look, we fight nothing alike. Everybody trying to put us together because he switches and I switches, but we fight nothing alike. I do agree. They fight nothing alike, right? Boots can throw switch by throwing combinations. Crawford comes out the corner, southpaw, come out the corner orthodox, right? They fight nothing alike, two different IQs, two different experiences in the boxing game. And I think right now, Crawford will beat Boots. I think he'll beat Boots because of experience. But Boots definitely has the talent, but I think he'll do what a young fighter does. He'll think he'll have Bud hurt and try to go for the gusto, and that's what Bud will catch him. That's what I believe. But I think Boots needs to focus on building his own legacy without mentioning Bud's name. That's what I believe. And like like King Larry said, Boots just came up at the wrong time. He came up at the time where Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford are kind of they on the tail end of their careers, right? And he's trying to call their name out and get these fights. He's trying to get a Bud fight. And, I think he needs to focus on fighting a Charlo, fighting a Bakaram Murtazalov, Mister Allah Akbar. He need to fight those names, Sebastian Fundora, um, those guys. And if he can run through those names, he could create a little lane for himself. Now, will he make these fights under Eddie Hearn? I don't know. But you got Mr. Turkey Combs over there. He willing to drop that bread. And PBC fighters go fight anywhere. So I think that if Turk dropped that bread and all these fights could be made. I saw something. I wouldn't put no stock in it because Eddie Hearn say a lot of things. Where Eddie Hearn was saying that basically they're gonna try to fight Bakram Murtazalev, and hey, if he's able to make that fight happen, that's brilliant, right? But to me, it's just a lot of they're using his name and tying it to people. That's what they're doing. And it's the oldest trick in promoting, right? I'm gonna take his name. Hey, Boots, we're gonna try to get a fight with him and Floyd Mayweather, or him and this person, him and this person, right? To try to keep Boots' name relevant. But it's like real boxing heads are not fooled by that. We didn't seen this before. It's time for him to fight them names. It's time for him to fight them dogs, right? If Virgil Ortiz beat Erickson Lubin, hey, it's time for him to make that fight. That's a big fight. That's that black versus Hispanic, right? That could be a crossover fight. That could take him to that next level, right? So, you know, that's a bigger fight for Boots if Boots fights Virgil Ortiz. I don't think Boots versus Erickson Lubin would be a big fight. It'll be a respectable fight, but I don't think it's a mega fight in boxing like Boots versus Virgil Ortiz. So I just think he need to focus on that. I don't believe he a hype job. I just think that is we just ready for him to fight people. Y'all got anything else?
Yeah, with Boots, right, signing to guys like Eddie, because I know you touched on it, right, when you were like, especially with Bud, when Bud didn't sign to PBC and all, that's where all the names were, but he decided to re-sign with Top Rank. And I think it's the same thing with Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn does not have a track record of building any black fighter in America. Yes, he's good at building UK fighters, but what has he done with Black American fighters? Boo Boo, nothing. Shakur, nothing. I'll give him. He got Richardson Hitcherson a Cambosos fight, but I mean, if that's his biggest name as of late, I mean that you don't really had a track record of building any black fighters. So why did Boots go and sign with Eddie Hearn? That's not where any of the smoke is. That's
Right.
not where Brian Norman was. That's not where any of the 147 guys were. And now he's at 154. I'm pretty sure 154, all the champs were with PBC, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if he's making moves to not align himself to where the fighters are and he's choosing to go get the bag, right? I don't know if I can 1K get down with it. And then you got a guy like Turkey who is saying, I have the fights for you, but for some reason now him and Eddie now they're just doing the zone fights or I don't know or matchroom fights. They're not fighting under what that shit called Riyadh season. Now Eddie done made put plenty of his fighters on Riyadh season, but now Boots is fighting on matchroom specifically, not Riyadh season. So one, you sign with Eddie Hearn who has no history of fighting black fighters. Two, you don't go partner with Riyadh season to go fight those dangerous fights. You say, nah, let's keep it in house. Let's keep it in Philly. You feel me? I don't even think they're doing a good job building this brand. Why you ain't fighting New York? Why you ain't go fight in Vegas or Texas? He's getting him stuck. He's having home court advantage in every scenario. So I'm not saying Boots is overrated because I think he is talented, but I do not think Boots is what they're trying to tell us he is. I do think he's a good fighter, though I think he's an all-time fighter. It's hard for me to say. I don't think you can go. I don't. I've never seen a guy with 40 fights with no names. I've never seen this in my life. I can't like Devin Haney got 32 fights and he got a bunch of names and he's younger than him. Tank got names on him and he's like I think he's a year older than Boots. Shakur got more names than him. These are all guys that are younger than him. They got more names. Who is Boots? But they're telling us Boots is the next Roy Jones. It's just I firmly believe where there's smoke, there's fire. And you're telling me a guy got 40 fights but ain't fought nobody. I think maybe I don't know if it's Camp that's seeing something, not his team that's seeing something, and they want to try to plug in them gaps before he fights somebody. But this next fight is gonna tell us a lot. And if Boots goes and fights another name we don't want to see, I think we got to call a spade a spade.
I agree. I agree. It's been too long. And like I say, I already touched on the point of we're gonna have to watch Boots a long time before he even get mentioned in the likes of the greatest of his generation or pound for pound or any of those, top notch titles you can earn in the sport of boxing because at 40 fights, like you said, the names aren't there. And I seen somebody in the comment section say he doesn't have the it factor. I agree with that too. He just don't have the it factor. And I don't say that's a whole part of the reason because if you look at Bud, he really didn't have the it factor in the eye of the public. But at the same time, he kept going, and he finally got there. But we knew Bud was eventually going to get there. But with Boots, it's like there's too many question marks. There's too many gray areas with Boots. And I love Boots fighter. But at the same time, at this point, like you said, we got to call a spade a spade. Is Boots really that guy? Yes, he pops out on the screen because he does something in the ring we haven't seen in a long time, and he does it at a high, consistent rate. But at the same time, you're doing stuff at a high, consistent rate against who? The resume, the names that Boots got to get the names. And like you say, his next fight, if he fight another unknown guy that came out of the blue, out of the woodworks in the last 6 months to a year, bro, we just gotta hang it up with Boots. I don't want to. I'm gonna still watch Boots because it's something we probably won't see in the ring again for a long time. But at the same time, I'm just watching. I'm gonna watch Boots for Boots. I'm not watching Boots to see if he's gonna be great. I'm not watching Boots to see if he's gonna be the face of boxing. I'm not watching Boots to see if he's gonna be the next elite fighter. We can say, hey, we got our next black fighter or whatever the case may be. We just gonna be watching Boots to watch Boots because Boots on TV. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I'm with you, Huncho, 100%. Like Turkey is telling you, we can get the fights, we can get the money, but we're not gonna sit here and let you fight on Riyadh season and you continue to fight, you know, Ikaman Akule, who came out of the woodwork from a third world country that we didn't even know he fought. And he was a karate fighter before he became a boxer. We're not going to watch you fight guys like that because you're at the point. You're at 40 fights, my guy. 40. 40. You're at 40 professional fights. At this point in time, in most top-notch elite fighter face-to boxing careers, they have fought at least 3 names to at least put them in an argument. Boots is nowhere near the argument because he just doesn't have the names. Like I say, the talent is there, the skill is there, the power, the IQ, the subtle charisma he has. It's all there, but at the same time, you doing it against guys who really hasn't earned any stripes or hasn't put a stamp on the sport of boxing.
And guys are calling out Boots. Like it's not like guys aren't calling out Boots. Guys are pulling Boots card out right now. Tio wanted to fight him. What happened with that? Haney wanted to fight him. Why are you offering Devin Haney, a guy we just seen at his most vulnerable, a 152 fight? I don't care if you can't perform at 100%. The way we saw Haney perform in New York against Ramirez and how we saw him fight against Ryan, you go in there, you fight Devin Haney 70%. I don't care. We
Right.
saw we saw Earl Spence go and fight Mikey Garcia,
Yep.
right? This is a guy with name and accolades coming to fight Earl.
Yep.
People saying Earl can't box. He showed Mikey, I'm a better boxer than you. That's
Yep.
like, where's that competitive spirit? Like Earl goes in the ring and he does what you like to do in the ring to show you you're not even fucking with me at what you do. Did that with Sean Porter, did that with Mikey Garcia. I'm not seeing that with Boots. Boots is just okay with being a flashy guy against average guy. I think Boots even play a little bit too much in the ring sometimes. The last dude
Right.
he got him up out of there for sure. But
Right.
Boots got too many instances of looking in the crowd in Philly, seeing where Gillian Wallow at, not looking at his dad dancing in the ring. Like I feel like we done gave Boost too much and without him really doing nothing. So I think that'll come back to bite him in the butt. I do think if you move Boost the right way and put him in these competitive fights earlier, it would have built him a certain way. But now if I think you throw him in there with a dog and it gets into deep water, I don't know I don't know how Boost swim. You feel me? I don't know how he swim if a dude in his face after he done hit him with his best shot. I'm curious to see how Boost react to that.
Right.
Yeah, I think like you mentioned that Charlo fight, he getting there with dudes that's not playing with him. You can't do that dancing stuff in there with a Charlo. You know, a Charlo, even a Bakram Murtazalov. Although Bakram Murtazalov is slow, he's a good counterpuncher, right? And Boots is not a good defensive fighter. Okay, he's a very good offensive fighter. I won't say his defense is bad, but he looks to be more offensive before defense. So what I'm saying is just like he can do that with a Lima Bean. He can do that with uh, uh, I won't say Karen because Karen he struggled with Karen, but Stanionis he can play around and do stuff like that with them. But when you getting in there with Charlo, Sebastian Fundora, Baccarat Murtazalev, you know, Virgil Ortiz, guys like that, you're not gonna be able to play in there. You need to be locked in, switched on, or you're gonna be laying on the ground looking at the ceiling while this dude on the ropes with his hands raised. You know, I just think that Boots, man, I think there's some truth to what Brian Norman Sr. said. He don't believe in himself like others believe in him. I think there's a little bit of self doubt there. And I think that, you know, like you said, Huncho, if they would have brought him up in a sense to where he was able to face tough competition, then he'll be ready for the moment. I don't feel like now he's ready for the moment, right? And I think they're trying to get him ready for the moment and get him ready for these big fights. That's why he needed a tune-up to, fight before he fights Virgil Ortiz, Erickson Lubin winner, right? When you look at all the other greats who came up from other weight classes, they went straight to the smoke, right? They didn't go and I need, they went straight to the smoke. You know what I'm saying? And I just think that unless they were coming off a long layoff, like Andre Ward was coming off a long layoff, he was moving up in weight, so he had to acclimate, right? Because they wanted him to fight Kovalev. So that was HBO's plan to get him. So he I'm signed with Rock Nation. I just signed with them. Let me acclimate. But a lot of guys, man, when they move up, they going straight to the smoke. You know what I mean? And Boots, from what he's a showsman. From what we see, he should have just went straight to the Virgil Ortiz fight, but he didn't. Right? So I just think that there's some truth to maybe he don't believe in himself. Uh, like he's saying. That maybe there's a reason why he didn't fight the Brian Norman fight. Maybe there's a reason why he didn't take the TO or the Devin Haney fight. Maybe he felt like I don't think I can beat these guys. You know, because maybe he like, hey, these small dudes they move up, they beat me. That's gonna hurt me. That's gonna hurt my brand. That's gonna hurt everything I built. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, those are good fights. Those are good crossover fights for you. Fight Teofimo. I wanted him to fight Teofimo. I want him to beat the beans, rice, potatoes out of Teofimo Lopez because Teofimo was on that racist stuff around that time. So, hey, what a perfect guy to fight Teofimo. But,
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, I don't think that confidence was there. Right? And in boxing, Coach B noticed, I don't care how much talent you will have. If you don't believe in yourself, it don't matter. You could have the greatest coach in your corner. You could have all the skills, all the attributes. If you don't believe in yourself in that ring, it don't matter. And I just think he don't 100% have that confidence to beat certain guys yet. That's what I think. I'm not saying he won't never have it. I'm just saying I don't think he don't have that confidence yet. I mean, is that something y'all see, or am I tripping?
Yeah. So I mean, if he doesn't see it now at 29 years old, it's very hard for me to believe you develop that in your 30s as a boxer when you're nearing the damn near the end of your real prime. And I don't know if y'all knew, but Clarissa Shields, I think when they were talking about T.O. calling him out, I think she mentioned like because Boots is the same age, he's like in the same era as the T.O.s. He came up around the same time. I think he went pro maybe around the same time, but he wasn't really the guy in the amateurs. It was the T.O.s, it was the Shakurs. Boots kind of fell under the radar and kind of started making a name for himself in the pro. So I don't know if that kind of plays in his psyche, knowing, damn, I was in these tournaments with these type of guys, and these were really the guys. I wasn't really the guy. And he kind of developed into that. But that was a little telling for me when she said that, like, hey, like Boots wasn't really the guy coming up. It was the TOs. They were the talented guys, not really Boots. So I know the amateurs don't mean everything, but that kind of stood out and it don't help his case why he not fighting nobody now. So
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, Gary Antoine Russell did beat Boots in the amateurs. But
Gary Antoine Russell, there, I think he a great fighter, but nobody really has Gary Antoine Russell, and like they don't really talk about him like he's that. I think he's a, if you know, you know, but he beat Boots, so that, I mean, shit. And he still wants smoke with Boots. He said when I go to 147, me and Boots got to make it happen. So these guys ain't really fearing Boots because I think they seen Boots younger. They know they already seen Boots. They know he's all right, but they don't think he's that. They don't think he's as special as they trying to make the casuals think he is.
Right.
Jay Will, we are not talking about Terrence Crawford. We talking about Boots. Stop bringing up Terrence Crawford. We're not talking about him, bro. His man said, talking about when I said Bull was out of his prime at 38, y'all was saying he not at the end of his prime. We talking about Boots, Jay Will. We not talking about Terrence Crawford. You know what I mean? I don't I don't know why you brought him up. We talking about Boots. Okay? We'll do a live next time. We'll talk about Terrence Crawford all you want to. But we not talking about Crawford today. Okay? We mentioned him. You know what I'm saying? We mentioned him, but we ain't really honed in on him today. Understood Boss Man said Boots coming to the end of his prime at 30. I didn't say he coming to the end of his prime. I said he doesn't believe in himself. Or I guess Huncho probably said that because I
Yeah,
ain't
I
said
mean, yeah, you ain't say that, but I'm saying for most boxers, I mean, you got outliers. Like just because Bud is doing it, just because LeBron is doing it, that don't mean it's the rule. That's the exception. You feel me? Like most of these guys ain't really moving like that when they like 34, 30. Most ain't. Most ain't Usyk, most ain't Crawford. You feel me? Look at AJ getting his ass whooped in his early 30s. I know he wasn't a guy like that, but with the early 30s, I mean, it's a lot of boxers downfall.